Let's cut right to the chase. You know who I want to
Yeah,
talk about?
yeah.
Josh Rosen,
Oh,
man. We
oh,
love. I
let's go.
love. We both agree that Josh Rosen is a franchise quarterback, the most overlooked in this draft. He was just disrespected. We talk about disrespect. Josh Rosen was disrespected, and he's ready to blow up the league from what he said.
Oh, 100%, 100%. That the thing is, everyone wants these quarterbacks to, you know, look a certain way for the franchise. They want these guys to be super polite, super, whatever it is that they want. Josh Rosen just isn't that guy. He's going to speak his mind. He's going to tell you how it is. And, that rubs people the wrong way. And, when you're looking at, a pure talent perspective out of this class, I mean, me and you are both on board that this guy is the best quarterback in the draft class.
I'm willing to say that he reminds me a lot of Peyton Manning, and people get angry when you say things like that. Why? Well, am I crazy to think that he has certain, technicalities in his fundamentals and the way he plays the game that very Payne-esque and his personality very much like Aaron Rodgers? That's been said so many times.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, he maybe doesn't have, the upside or some of these guys. He doesn't have the biggest arm. He doesn't have he's not the most athletic guy who's able to run out of the pocket or anything. But he does the basic things that you need to do the best. And I think that's super important. Sometimes that can get overlooked in the draft process. You want the guy that already has that basic fundamentals down, who does the little things better than anyone else, because now there's not a learning curve that you have to do.
What are they saying? What are they saying down there, man, in Arizona about
They're,
him looking in OTAs?
I mean, they're really impressed by him, mainly because of just how he's able to command the huddle. They really like his leadership ability. They like how smart he is and how he's able to process the information that they're giving him, and he's able to go out there and he's been performing well with the first stringers because Bradford has been out.
Do you feel like he can start week one over Sam Bradford?
I certainly feel like he can. Now, whether he will, that's going to be up to the coaching staff and how Josh Rosen performs in the preseason, as well as how Sam Bradford's health is going along throughout the rest of this offseason. But with all indications, if he continues to just impress coaches and he continues to play well, understand the playbook, and he goes out in preseason and is able to perform like they believe he can, I don't think the coaching staff is going to hold him back from starting week one just because he is a rookie.
He automatically makes David Johnson better. David Johnson coming back to a bounce back season. Larry Fitzgerald. These guys can definitely have some good numbers this year with Josh Rosen as quarterback. I don't see why not.
He's in a position to where if he did start week one, he would be in a position to where he's succeeding. The O line they have really solid pieces on the offensive line. They've just been hurt the past couple of years. They have All Pro guard in Mikey Potty on the left side. They have All Pro guard they just signed. Not All Pro guard, but a Pro guard in Justin Pugh, who's one of the better guards in the league. DJ Humphries, an up and coming left tackle in the league. They signed Andre Smith at the right tackle, and they got AQ Shifley at center. They have a really good, solid offensive line to keep him healthy in there. And they also have, one of the best receivers of all time, Larry Fitzgerald, on the outside.
Of all
He just
time,
puts him
he is.
of all time.
He is not. He is underrated. He is so underrated. I've got Larry Fitzgerald. How big of a value is he in redraft leagues? Like, that's great value for what he gives you every year.
He's a value every year because people think he's going to drop off. Well, he's shown no signs whatsoever of dropping off. He's entering his age 35 season. What was it? He was top 5 in PPR points last year. He was top 5 in targets, and he was second in receptions last year. So what is there to make us think that that's not going to happen again? Like everything is just pointing in the same direction that he's going to be another top 10 receiver this year, but yet he's getting overlooked and he's being drafted in the early 4th round in drafts, and in dynasty drafts he's getting drafted. I just snagged him up in like the 8th round of a startup league.
You get more value. You get more value in Dynasty because people are going for all the youth, and you can swoop up Mr. Fitzgerald, slide him into your wide receiver 2, and eat double-digit points every week if you're in PPR. It's amazing. But one day there will be no Larry Fitzgerald, and they drafted Christian Kirk, and you're a huge Christian Kirk truther. What can we expect from Kirk?
The one thing about Kirk that really stood out to me was just how professional he approaches the game. I don't want to say this, but he reminds me of a Larry Fitzgerald in the aspect of how he approaches the game on the off the field, perspective. And this is a guy that Larry Fitzgerald has already taken under the wing before the Cardinals even drafted him. Like, this is a hometown guy. This is a guy who's been training with Larry Fitzgerald. He was at a softball tournament with a bunch of other NFL players. This is a guy who treats the game the right way. He treats his body the right way. And I think he's going to have a very long career. He may not end up being the top receiver in this draft class, but I think he's he's probably the safest wide receiver in the draft class, mainly because I think he's just going to have a very long career, very productive careers, like wide receiver 2 season that we can expect year in, year out.
Could he be a Jarvis Landry type weapon, especially for PPR, for Josh Rosen for years to come?
Absolutely. We look at just the way that, teams are kind of utilizing slot receivers now. And the thing about Kirk is he can also be utilized on the outside. And that's what he's going to have to do in his first couple years. So getting that experience on the outside will only help him once Fitz retires, once he gets moved in the inside. They're going to be able to move him all around the offense. And there's really no other, long-term, weapons there in the receiving core. They have Bryce Butler they signed in free agency. He's, 28 years old. Chad Williams, they drafted him the 3rd round last year. He didn't really show anything at all. So once Fitz is gone, it's kind of the Christian Kirk show. He's going to get, pounded with a ton of targets there.
David Johnson's back. David Johnson is still ranked as a top 5 back in fantasy. What can we expect from him?
Another all-pro season. I mean, there's no reason to expect why they won't. I mean, the thing with Steve Wilkes is he came in and he said that we want to focus on running the ball. We want to focus on. They signed a fullback. That's the first time they've had a fullback in over 5 years because they never utilized one in Bruce Arians' system. They go and they upgrade. They get Justin Pugh at guard. That's certainly going to help that running game. They believe that the game is won and lost in the trenches, and David Johnson is going to be pounded the ball not only inside as a rusher but as a receiver. He's just going to be incredible. I think people are just. It's hard to say he's being overlooked when he's still considered a top 5 pick in redraft leagues, but he had the highest point total out of any running back in the past 5 years. And just because he goes down last year, that'd be kind of just like, oh, Gurley's his top guy, Bell's top guy. No, David Johnson is getting the touches as a receiver. He had 120 targets in 2016. That's ridiculous. What he's able to do as a receiver, it's legitimately possible that he cracks 1,000 yards as a receiver. Like, he was close to that. He was at 860. He got hurt in the last game. He was getting up there. They were going to feed him the ball to get him to 1,000.